Hi everybody and welcome to FertilitySpace. Today we're going to be talking about donor egg IVF success rates. There are many different reasons why someone would use donor egg during IVF, but some of the more common ones are if someone has poor egg quality. Usually they know that they have poor egg quality because they've had previous failed IVF cycles. Women with diminished ovarian reserve or a male patient who may be part of a same-sex relationship or maybe is a single parent by choice. So he has sperm available to create an embryo, but he actually doesn't have an egg. So he would need to use a donor for that. One of the common reasons people use donor egg is due to poor egg quality. So as women age, egg quality decreases. So essentially it becomes more difficult for women when they're older for their eggs to lead to an embryo that is chromosomally normal and can lead to a live birth. For example, if we look at the CDC success rates from the same year for women using their own eggs, women that were 40 years of age or older using their own eggs had about a 7.2% success rate per IVF cycle. Their success rate as far as per embryo transfer, if they got to the point where they had an embryo to transfer, the success rate was 22.6%. Using donor eggs from a younger woman is a way to improve the chance that you will have euploid embryos or embryos with the correct number of chromosomes. Even though women that are of advanced maternal age use their own eggs for IVF all the time and have success, some people do end up needing to use donor egg. Keep in mind that egg quality itself can't really be tested. It can be sort of inferred by testing embryos by PGT-A to see if the embryos have the correct number of chromosomes, but age is often used as an indicator of egg quality because we do know that as women age, fertility declines and the ability to have embryos that are chromosomally normal declines. So essentially that's an indication that the egg quality becomes poorer as women age. And then independent of older age, a recent study actually found that women that are diagnosed with diminished ovarian reserve actually have poorer egg quality. The study found that for women with diminished ovarian reserve, their chance of having a chromosomally normal embryo was 24% lower than women in the cohort that did not have diminished ovarian reserve and that were the same age as them. So it was independent of age that women with diminished ovarian reserve tended to have poorer egg quality. Something to know about donor eggs is that there are two types of donor egg sources essentially. So you could work with a live donor that would undergo an egg retrieval on your behalf so that you would have fresh eggs available for your IVF cycle, or you could purchase a frozen cohort of donor eggs from an egg bank. So essentially that would mean that a donor has worked with the egg bank to donate eggs and you would just be purchasing a cohort of those frozen eggs, have them shipped to your clinic, and then the eggs could be thawed and used for your IVF cycle. I mention this because when we're going to look at the IVF success rates, they do stratify the outcomes by using fresh eggs versus using frozen donor eggs. One more thing to note is that the time at which the embryo is transferred is also notated in the success rate. So some people would do a fresh embryo transfer where the embryo is transferred usually 5 or 6 days after being fertilized in the lab. But then some people did a frozen embryo transfer. So they would freeze their embryo first and then thaw it at a later date to transfer it to attempt a pregnancy. Okay, so now that we understand the difference between fresh donor eggs and frozen donor eggs, let's have a look at the success rates. So looking at the national IVF success rates for egg donor IVF cycles, we can see here that for people that had fresh donor eggs and did a fresh embryo transfer, the singleton live birth rate was 49.5%. For people that used frozen donor eggs and did a fresh transfer, their success rate was 44.1%. And then for people that did a frozen embryo transfer from donor eggs, their success rate was 44.5%. And this is the singleton live birth rate. So this is the percent of donor egg IVF cycles that resulted in the birth of a single baby. So I think that's something good to know just so that you can have all of the information. You can also head to the FertilitySpace website and check success rates for all the different clinics across the United States. So you can search clinics in your area and check to see what their IVF success rates are for your age. Let us know if you have any questions, and I hope you all have a really good day.